Good evening, and thank you for joining us for another RJRGleaner Group virtual town hall meeting. I'm Emily Shields. A very special welcome to our listeners and viewers on JNN, Radio Jamaica, Power 106, OneSpotMedia.com, YouTube, and Gleaner Online. Tonight, we are exploring the total lockdown of the parish of St. Catherine and all of its implications. Here's TVJ's Giovanni Dennis with an overview.
On Tuesday, April 14, the government announced a lockdown of the entire parish of St. Catherine. This after 31 cases of COVID-19 were confirmed at the Alarica Call Centre in Portmore.
Starting at 5 a.m. Wednesday morning, April 15th, 2020, through to 5 a.m. Wednesday, April the 22nd, 2020.
Minutes later, tens of vehicles streaming from the Portmore Toll Road into Kingston, this vehicle with a bed on top. The police said these were persons rushing to leave before the start of the curfew. Spanish Town Mayor Norman Scott was upset at the short notice.
This thing catch the people of St. Catherine by night. Is Nicodemus by night catching the people. The Minister of Health called me at 6:45 to tell me that a decision has been taken. I'm the chairman of the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation, and if something like this is going to happen, I would have expected the administration to give me the kind of kudos and to say, well, this is where we are and we are going to do this. And for me to give the kind of support. Where I am now, I can't support it.
Over in Spanish Town, crowds at this supermarket. Bigger crowds Wednesday morning on one of two designated shopping days. Physical distancing, non-existent. Inside, chaos.
So I'm going, bread done, rice, flour, all of them there. 2 bread left back. I'm going to take up the 2 and I'm going to say, Lord God, me have to put it back because I feel away. As of God.
On the roads, lengthy traffic delays. The police checking temperatures and IDs, turning back motorists who were not essential workers. Taxi drivers, unsurprisingly, finding shortcuts. Thursday morning, more traffic. So, what are residents of St. Catherine allowed to do? You can go shopping for what the Prime Minister calls essentials of life, food and medicine, on Wednesday and Saturday only.
These are the days that we expect our citizens to be able to restock their cupboards, refill their prescription. For medical emergencies, you will be allowed as they arise.
If you are over 65, pregnant or disabled, you can shop from 8 to 10 a.m. From 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., it will be time for people whose last name begins with the letters A to H. If your last name begins with I to P, you can head out from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And for those with surnames beginning with Q to Z, your time is 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Remember, apart from shopping for food and medicine, only essential service workers are allowed to leave home. But
if you are ill, whether you are an essential service member or not, if you are exhibiting symptoms from flu or respiratory illness, stay at home. If you're coughing, sneezing, sniffling, cold, fever, stay at home. Tan at your yard.
Since this press conference, there have been 38 more positive cases, taking the total at midday Thursday to 143 confirmed cases.
Of the 143 confirmed cases, to date, 52 are from Alorica, the call center in Portmore, St. Catherine.
But despite repeated explanations, there are still many more questions. Giovanni Dennis reporting for TVJ.
Thank you, Giovanni Dennis, with that overview. So joining us in this virtual town hall, they're joining us by Zoom at the moment, is the Jamaica Constabulary Forces Corporate Communications Unit Head, Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay. Also joining us is Mayor of Portmore, Leon Thomas, President of the St. Catherine Chamber of Commerce, Dennis Robotham, and President of the Sunshine City Chamber of Commerce, Norman Walker. Now, since they're joining on Zoom, there may be some interference on the line with connectivity, so we ask you to bear with us as we try to get that as best as possible. Can I thank you so much for joining us, lady and gentlemen?
Thank you for having me.
Right. Stephanie Lindsay, if I could begin with you, Senior Superintendent. One of the big concerns coming out of the announcement by the Prime Minister on Tuesday night was that there was a mass exodus of people from Portmore heading out of St. Catherine into some other parishes. The JCF initially said that there was not evidence of that on a large scale, but today we heard that there was at least one family that was held somewhere in St. James, having fled the lockdown in St. Catherine. Can you explain how all of those statements intertwine, if at all?
All right, so we are still contending that we did not see any evidence of mass exodus. I think probably that was a little probably exaggerated. We're not denying as we see that persons may have left. But I think what started it was a video that circulated showing a line of traffic coming out of Portmore sometime after 8 o'clock. So when we check on that, we found that it coincided with the usual thing that we saw even when the curfew was 6 o'clock. So the hour leading up to the end of the curfew, we tend to see a buildup of traffic of persons trying to get home before the curfew period. So what we saw at that time was consistent with that.
But a lot of people have said that that traffic was not normal traffic coming out of Portmore, even if, as the JCF says, people work in Portmore and they want to get out before the curfew.
Right, so we are saying that, as we said, because after we saw it, we sent in some persons there to check, and they gave the feedback. They check on persons. They saw that there was in fact traffic, but persons linked that to a mass exodus and giving the impression that all the persons there were persons actually trying to leave Portmore ahead of the lockdown, the 5 a.m. lockdown. So we are saying that what we saw was not, the term mass exodus was somewhat exaggerated.
Right. But let me ask you as well, we heard earlier on in the newscast here on Radio Jamaica and in TVJ News that a family, as I said, was found in St. James, allegedly having fled St. Catherine. Can you comment on that and whether you're tracing any other family that may have left St. Catherine?
Well, we know that a family from St. Catherine was identified in St. James, and the authority there, they're dealing with it. We work very closely with the Ministry of Health, where we support them. So wherever they ask us to support, we have been getting called. We have set up a COVID center where we encourage persons to call if they see persons who have left the parish, because it's not unusual for people to want to leave for different reasons. I think part of it, maybe fear of the unknown, maybe persons not understanding what the term lockdown means, so some persons may try to get out. But what we do is that we support the Ministry of Health, work very closely with them, and wherever they give us persons that they think we should check on, our local police go and check, and once it's verified, they take over.
Leon Thomas, Mayor of Portmore, let me bring you in here because your colleague, Mayor Norman Scott, described the move by the Prime Minister to have announced the lockdown of St. Catherine as a Nicodemus type of move, and perhaps they should have been informed about it long before. Do you accept that position by Norman Scott?
Yes, I do share the same concern. Let me say firstly, good night to you and good night to the listeners and also the panelists. The sudden lockdown of the parish or Portmore, it was too sudden. It was very little information that was passed to us at 5:30. And with that announcement that was made, that is what frightened the residents of Portmore and have them in panic. And I must tell you that also from my investigation, that a lot of people have left Portmore. Even the very morning, we had people who the police stopped and they produce a driver's license with a Kingston address and saying that they are going home. But they are, factually, they are living in Portmore.
But let me ask you, may I just hold on that? Because from my understanding and my recollection, which you can correct me if I'm wrong, Portmore has the greatest concentration of university graduates in the English-speaking Caribbean. Is that correct?
Sure.
Can you explain then, if you understand it, why would anybody view a lockdown as something from which they should escape?
Because the announcement that was made, they thought more or less that the virus is all over Portmore, so they're trying to escape from contact with the virus.
Escape from the virus?
Why they are going away, and then put on top of it again, they are fleeing because they believe that when Portmore locked down, they are going to die for hunger.
But do you have a role at all in providing education and leadership in this?
At the time when we get the information, we could never organize to get the town criers and to inform the Citizens Association and the civic groups within the municipality.
Yes.
It was about 5:30 in the evening. We got the information that there's a possibility that the parish will be locking down.
Let me bring in.
Put us on our back foot at the time.
Let me bring in Dennis Robotham here, president of the St. Catherine Chamber of Commerce. Dennis Robotham, what are we missing? Why is it that those who can, those who have the means, have not been preparing themselves for what probably is going to be the inevitable, which is the announcement of a lockdown, which nobody can be forewarned about, because by its very nature, as we see happening, some people may leave the community. What are we missing here, Mr. Robotham?
Well, hi, Emily. Hi to all your listeners. Well, basically, the unknown is something that most people are afraid of. And even although they might be partially prepared, the fact that the lockdown might create them being maintained in one area, it is something that is scary. So some people possibly wants to escape that aspect of things and look for a way out. Because and panic is something that, when they hear lockdown, they are not sure how long it will be, whether they have enough food or whatever. Hoarding is something. We see it in the United States, the great United States, where food and everything is available, and yet still people go and hoard and stock up way beyond the necessary, aspect of what really is needed.
Well, hopefully we can put a lot of context to what is going on and what should happen. Norman Walker, president of the Sunshine City Chamber of Commerce. Let me hear your thoughts on the reaction and the panic and the running away from the lockdown.
Thank you very much, Emily. The panic is something that, has been treading our way for some time now. When you look at what is happening around us in terms of this terrible disease, people really became panicky and extremely concerned. Recently, the decision that has been taken by the government to lock down suddenly has taken us by surprise.
All right, just hold on for me, Mr. Walker. Let me just go to a break. When we come back, more from my guests. It's a virtual town hall for the RJRGleaner Communications Group, the lockdown of St. Catherine and its implications. Stay with us, please.
the entire parish of St. Catherine on lockdown.
Just by virtue of the existence of the call center in Portmore.
What does this mean?
A lockdown starting 5 a.m. tomorrow for the next 7 days, ending 5 a.m. on the 22nd of April 2020.
The RJRGleaner group will have a virtual town hall this Thursday, April 16 at 8:30 p.m. on TVJ, JNN, OneSpotMedia.com, The Gleaner Online, Radio Jamaica, Power 106 FM, and TVJ's YouTube channel. St. Catherine on lockdown.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by washing your hands after coughing or sneezing, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare food, before eating, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, and after handling animals or animal waste.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the virtual town hall for the RJRGleaner Communications Group. We're looking at the lockdown in St. Catherine. I'm Emily Shields, and thank you so much for rejoining me. Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay, Head of the Constabulary Corporate Communications Unit, Leon Thomas, Mayor of Portmore, Dennis Robotham, Norman Walker. And there seems to be consensus that the sudden lockdown of St. Catherine has caused a bit of panic in parts of St. Catherine. We saw the dry run for the supermarkets on Wednesday. We saw the overcrowding in one supermarket. We understand they had as many as 800 people. And I have looked at the numbers, Dennis Robotham in Portmore in particular, over 200,000 people. I understand about 7 large supermarkets in Portmore. But when you did the number, certainly by my calculation, at any given time of the day, either Wednesday or Saturday, you're going to have about 1,500 people in some of those supermarkets picking up goods and so forth. How else can it be done, Mr. Robotham, to minimize the crunch that we saw on Wednesday come Saturday? Your thoughts?
Well, looking at it, because not only Portmore had the problem, Spanish Town had the same problem. But I think that education is necessary to ensure the consumers that availability of goods will be there. It is not short. It's just a matter of getting it. There are 2 days in which you can, but possibly a numbering system or the alphabet system is one way to look at it as well. Those from A to M as partially in some instances, as the Prime Minister had indicated. The supermarkets possibly might have to look at that as well until we get a relative calm that can assist in bringing it that into online.
Right. Mayor,
possibly one aspect of it.
Sorry, Mayor Thomas, the Prime Minister has extended the hours now from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. coming Saturday, you think that is going to ease the rush substantially, or because people have had a couple of days probably without sufficient food supplies, that it's not going to make a difference?
Emily, I don't think it's going to make a difference. And I think is that you have to look at the long holiday that we are going through. And with the closing down the following day after Easter Monday, it really caused for that type of gathering. And with Saturday coming, there's a lot of people who did not get to purchase anything at all. And I know it's going to be a rush on the supermarkets in Portmore. Now, let me just correct you one bit, Emily. We have 8 supermarkets in Portmore.
Good.
And those 8 supermarkets Wednesday was full. Over 300 people was out at these supermarkets in long lines. And I know that it's going to be worse on Saturday. My humble suggestion that another day should be looked at to ease that pressure that is going to occur on Saturday.
Right. Senior Superintendent Lindsay, let me hear you on this. I have a question from Donna Braithwaite in St. Catherine. Perhaps the police can help. Can people travel within St. Catherine to bring food to their relatives, or can they move only on Wednesday and Saturday? Can you help us with that, Senior Superintendent Lindsay?
Right. So based on the instruction is that they should only move on the days when they are allotted to.
But what if there are emergencies? Are there any discretionary powers that members of the JCF would have? Can we call anybody in the JCF, for example, and say, can you take food or medicine to somebody particular over the age of, say, 65, 70, because there is a need for medicine and food outside of the Wednesday and Saturday?
Right. So what we have been doing, because we are only enforcing, what we get. So we ask persons who may have particular queries and particular circumstances to make contact with the Ministry of National Security or the Office of the Prime Minister and to state their position. We are in very close contact. So we get instructions from that, because the ground commanders really don't have discretion to really change the rules just to enforce it. But I know those are genuine concerns that people have. So those are things that I would recommend that they raise at that level. Someone there would probably guide them as to how they treat with it, and then they will communicate it to us.
As you mentioned, the ground commander, we have been trying to get the published order for this most recent lockdown of St. Catherine, but we have not been able to put our hands on it. Do you at the JCF, do you yet have that order?
I don't have a copy of it with me just now.
But do you have it available at all?
I need to check. I didn't check before I started. I need to check to see where that is.
But up to this morning, you had a copy of it or not yet?
Not yet.
Because that's part of the problem. I don't know if people really understand the parameters that we're working under. It was an announcement made by the Prime Minister. No Parliament sat up to minutes to 11 last evening, but we still don't know. We still don't have hard copy of what the parameters of this entire lockdown happen to be in writing. Norman Walker, your thoughts on the absence of the written order governing the lockdown of St. Catherine at the moment?
Thank you. We are extremely, from the chamber point of view, extremely concerned, because we felt that the whole matter could have been handled in a more friendly manner. We see quite a bit of confusion taking place, and we really is extremely concerned to that aspect. I've also like to add the question of the confusion concerning the supermarkets, because we've been tracking it since April 1. The lines suddenly has gotten excessively long. To top it all, when the Prime Minister made the announcement to close down Portmore on Wednesday, that was the straw that brings the camel back. I mean, things just mushroom and just went haywire. And I believe Portmore deserve a little better. And I think that we need to really see some proper organization put in place so that at least you mentioned earlier, we have the largest community in English-speaking Caribbean.
And the largest pocket of the coronavirus infection. The numbers coming out of Alorica, 787 employees, 559 of them reside in St. Catherine, 447 have been contacted, 112 of them have not been found, and you now have the largest numbers based on the cluster that the Ministry of Health has found. So why do you think it is almost a singling out of Portmore for reasons unknown?
Let me share the Chamber's thought as well. With the BPO sector in Portmore, we know that it was ripe for the picking because what we see was happening regarding the activities that takes place there, the cluster of people working together and so on. We knew it was just a matter of time that this thing is going to blow up under any normal condition because we can never envisage that you would have so much people cluster in one area. So it was not too much of a surprise when we got the information coming from across the town center that this has been identified. And I'm saying that it's good that the government had saw it fit to ensure that they close all the others because we would have been sitting on a time bomb.
Right. Let me ask as well, just before we go to the break, Leon Thomas, Mayor of Portmore. I've just not heard the chorus, didn't hear the clamor from yourself, from any of your colleagues about concerns in relation to the call centers before the Alorica confirmed cases. Where were the voices before warning the government of this so-called cramming of people in the call centers?
Emily, on the 11th of March, at our General Council meeting, where the chief medical doctor was present, and all the 12 councillors have echoed the sentiments to the chief medical doctor about the concern of the call centers. We have gone further to have it posted on social media on the Wednesday of that next week. And we also echo the sentiments to the media, and we invite TVJ to come to Portmore and to also carry out an investigation.
All right, let me just go to the break. Mayor, beg your pardon. Let's go to the break and come right back. We'll pick up on that. This is a virtual town hall for the RJRGleaner Communications Group Lockdown, St. Catherine.
Lockdown. The entire parish of St. Catherine on lockdown.
Just by virtue of the existence.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by washing your hands after coughing or sneezing, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare food, before eating, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, and after handling animals or animal waste.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the
call center in Portmore.
What does this mean?
A lockdown starting 5 a.m. tomorrow for the next 7 days, ending 5 a.m. on the 22nd of April 2020.
The RJRGleaner group will have a virtual town hall.
Welcome back to the virtual town hall for the RJRGleaner Communications Group. We're looking at the St. Catherine lockdown. Thank you all so much for rejoining us. I'm rejoining my guests online, Norman Walker, Dennis Robotham, Leon Thomas, Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay. So we're hearing from you, Mayor, that you did call the media in, and I think I did see a report that was done by TVJ in the newscast about some concerns at one of the call centers in Portmore. But here we are at the moment. Yeah, Omar Beale is saying, I think the decision to do a complete lockdown of St. Catherine was somewhat rushed. Where are the resources going to come from to manage effectively such a lockdown, given that the resources are already stretched? And you can continue sending your comments and questions in at 381-0072 as we rejoin our guests online. Chamber of Commerce, let me, a lot of people are asking for the essential workers, for the nurses, for the doctors, for some of those frontline workers. Do you think any special arrangements can be made for those in St. Catherine to have access to some of the supermarkets at different hours to ensure that they get what they need, especially since they have to go to work treating people who have contracted the coronavirus?
You want me to take it?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the essential workers should be given special priority. This is not new to Jamaica. All over the world, the frontline workers, the government makes special effort to ensure that they are treated properly.
Mm-hmm.
I think in Jamaica, they're doing a fantastic job, and we really want to ensure that your efforts are rewarded and that they are compensated and recognized. So I am saying here that these workers should be given special priority in all spheres of the Jamaican life.
Do you have a list, Mr. Walker, as to the number of essential workers, healthcare, doctors, nurses, and so forth, the janitors, everybody, those are crucial people in the healthcare sector in, say, for example, your locale, Mr. Walker?
Not at the moment. We're currently crunching some numbers, among other things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that we should have this information in short order.
Right. And Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay, is there any special treatment that is allowed by the security forces for frontline workers who present an ID to you?
Well, of course, most of our essential service workers, they are exempted. So what we try to do is to try to get them out as quickly as possible. And I think that was one of the challenges that we faced yesterday and today, because whilst we tried to get those out there as quickly as possible, we found that a number of persons who were not supposed to be on the street, they also came out and were among those that were exempted. So that created congestion. We also saw another issue which we would like to speak to, where we saw some individuals who are essential workers, persons who are exempted, but they are driving a vehicle and they have in their company persons who are not so authorized. Mm-hmm. So we had to go through now to be sifting through some of those we have to turn back, or some of them we had to ask to get out of the vehicle because they are not supposed to leave the parish. So that kind of created a additional traffic delay, which was one of the challenges that we faced yesterday, to a lesser extent today.
And then going into Saturday now, SSP Lindsay, which is the next day when people are allowed out. What's the plan for the Jamaica Constabulary Force in treating with the crowd in light of the Wednesday experience?
So what we did is that we look at all the things that happened on Wednesday, and it's work in progress. So we would have learned from that experience. We looked at the gaps and see the extent to which the Jamaica Constabulary Force will play our role. But some of what we saw on Wednesday, those are not necessarily policing issues. It's more about indiscipline. It's more about people not obeying the guidelines. So you know that we have to focus on the critical areas that us in the Jamaica Constabulary Force must treat with. And we hope that even the persons who were looking on, the citizens, because in a situation like this, we can't rely solely on law enforcement to really make it better on Saturday. Persons just have to be disciplined, just have to maintain the social distance. Maybe everybody doesn't need to come out on time, but we will be out there managing the traffic, securing the borders, and doing as much as we can to the extent that we are able to utilize the resources that we have.
Right. So let me come to you, Dennis Robotham. How can this be aided come Saturday? A lot of people have been talking about Alorica, and understandably so, but people are overlooking the fact that a number of the supermarkets with the massive queues and no social distancing, they are Aloricas waiting to happen. The queues coming up at the ATMs and all of those areas in the banks and all of those are Alorica waiting to happen. What can we do, Dennis Robotham, with only about 48 hours to go or so before this Saturday letting out for food? What can we do to assist people to keep the social distance in the queues at the supermarkets?
Well, I think a major aspect could be the media houses to really start educating and assuring the consumer that it is not necessary to really rush. Because let me tell you, there are a lot of wholesales in Spanish Town in particular that assist in dealing with not only the supermarkets, they carry the same goods and that sort of thing, which is able to help to alleviate some of the stresses that the supermarkets are facing. But apart from that, I think that there needs to be regulation outside of the supermarket because of the social distance in the supermarket.
Yes.
That possibly they need to know that, well, we take the first 100 or whatever is supposed to be holding what capacity there is and deal with it, that people don't have to stay in lines like that. There needs to be some method of working out a way to alleviate that sort of thing.
I'm just wondering, who do you think can assist in that process? Because as SSP Lindsay says, it's really not a policing issue.
Well, possibly the private sector needs to come in here. Probably we need to get tents, and possibly the supermarkets need to provide tents where we can put proper seating and deal with it from that aspect and give numbers. Possibly is another way to look at it.
Norman Walker, you have a thought on that, President of Sunshine City Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, I must admit that the first time it was new territory for all the supermarkets and so on. I'm confident that come Saturday, we have learned from Wednesday, and I'm confident that come Saturday, we'll see a more streamlined and organized operation going forward.
But who is going to organize that? The supermarket owners or what?
Yes, I have gone to various supermarkets and I have spoke to a couple of managers and to indicate to them some of the things that they could implement. And the fact that it was just a mad rush on Wednesday morning, you know, they would not have time to settle down to plan. I think the couple of days that they get and they would have had the experience of Wednesday, I have no doubt that we'll see a smoother operation going forward.
Well, Mayor of Portmore, let me ask about those over 65, over 75 in Portmore. Have you had any reports from the Citizens Association, from anybody representing these individuals as to whether they have any immediate needs that they would like to have filled and considered how they can be filled?
Yes, Emily. The physical challenge personnel are of concern. And one of the reasons why I asked for the additional day, I was thinking about the elderly, the physical challenge, and also the frontline workers. Could give a special day for them to shop. And then the general public, in the manner that was prescribed, could go about their regular shopping for the other 2 days. Because when you give like the senior citizen a time from 8:30 to I think it was 10:30, it is very little time. And our senior citizen and physical challenge people are having a great difficulty getting there. And also, with what Mr. Walker said about he is expected a better orderly and organized way. The lady who was interviewed by TVJ that said that when she went inside the supermarket, it was only 2 breads that was there. I can tell you, everybody is going to have mad rush come Saturday to get food items because they already started to plan for 14 days lockdown. And there are some rumors that is also going out that the entire country is going to lock down. So the people is going to make mad rush on the supermarket come Saturday.
Why can't we all just think that even if a lockdown has not been announced by the Prime Minister, that based on where we are with the forecast from the epidemiologist, that about 2.3 million of us in Jamaica are going to have some kind of respiratory illness, 2/3 of which will be coronavirus, so about 1.6 million. 1.6 million out of 2.7, they expect are going to have coronavirus. Not all of us will need hospitalization. Why can't we treat it as such and realize that we need to put ourselves under lockdown even if the government doesn't do it? Mr. Thomas.
I agree with you, because we need to think about ourselves. Yes. And we need to follow the rules that is laid down.
Right. Shall I just go to the break and come back? Let's go to the break with a view from a shopper in St. Catherine on Wednesday.
Problem right now. What people bungling up at the door, but he has caused a breakdown in the social distancing. If he did not announce it, or give us such a short notice, less people would have been out here, less bungling would have happened, but we can't do any better now.
Java Beats exclusive. April 16 at 8:30 p.m. on TVJ, JNN, OneSpotMedia.com, The Gleaner Online, Radio Jamaica, Power 106 FM, and TVJ's YouTube channel. St. Catherine on lockdown.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by washing your hands after coughing or sneezing, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare food, before eating, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, and after handling animals or animal waste.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by washing your hands after coughing or sneezing, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare food, before eating, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, and after handling animals or animal waste.
Welcome back to the RJRGleaner Communications Group virtual town hall on the lockdown of St. Catherine. Now, just coming to hand less than 5 minutes ago is a revised protocol with a statement from Prime Minister Andrew Holness on movement of media in St. Catherine lockdown. The statement just coming to hand from the Prime Minister has just about 3-4 paragraphs, and it reads, following extensive debate on the measures in Parliament late last evening and further consultations and review which are still ongoing to finalize the Gazette of the Orders, the Government of Jamaica is indicating 1. The final Gazette to be published tonight. Media personnel will remain exempt and will be allowed to move about in pursuit of their mandate during the period of the lockdown in the parish of St. Catherine. 2. Protocols will be established in the orders to protect the identity and privacy of persons affected by the COVID-19 virus, as well as the health workers conducting contact tracing investigations and testing. 3. Special protocols will be imposed or proposed and discussed with media associations to ensure that public health operations are not impeded during coverage. These protocols will also reinforce practices to ensure the personal safety of media personnel, persons affected by the virus, and health personnel. So this just coming to hand in the last couple of minutes from the Prime Minister having a statement on movement of media in the St. Catherine lockdown. This follows howls of protest from the Press Association of Jamaica following the announcement by the Prime Minister in Parliament very late last evening that the press was going to be allowed restricted access during certain hours within St. Catherine, and the access would only be had on the days that people would be moving about, which would be Wednesdays and Saturdays. And they have now recanted, rightly so, because this should not have happened. And they now say media personnel will remain exempt and will be allowed to move about in pursuit of their mandate. Now, the big thing coming again from this release, the final Gazette. So the orders that we were told of Tuesday night and which were supposed to be made law, they're not yet law because the final Gazette has not yet been published. So you really can't even criminalize somebody if the thing is not yet law. I know that some people have been held in different parts of Jamaica because they're said to have fled this order. But the order is not yet law because the Gazette, the final order, has not yet been published. But again, it's part of the moving parts that we have in this very unprecedented time. I'm back with Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay, Leon Thomas, Dennis Robotham, Norman Walker. We're back with you, Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay. Now we understand why you never had the order and why we couldn't get it, because it hasn't been published yet. Yeah?
Okay, yeah. So you got the confirmation.
Right, but how does this impede you at all? Because you just don't know what the legs are on the order. You don't know the legal framework within which you're operating because you don't have the order in hand. How does that impede your work?
So what we do is that, as I said, the things that we are doing are things that we would normally do with or without an order, focusing on the traffic management and doing the normal policing activities. There are some guidelines at certain time that we have an existing order with some things that we are working with. We have a curfew that starts at 9 o'clock in the night, so we have those. So we are being guided, and I know that the the commissioner and our legal department and the legislators, they're in constant dialogue. So we are working through because, as you mentioned, it's unprecedented what we are seeing here. And because of the role that we have to play, so we are supporting the other agencies doing what we are authorized to do by way of law enforcement. And of course, as you mentioned, that I think one of the things that we have been looking at is that even though we're saying we're enforcing the law, but it's a lot of persuasion because it's not one of those times when you're really out there locking up a lot of people. What we're really trying to do is a lot of public education, a lot of many other things, just trying to get persons to understand the importance of why we're doing all of this and why it is so important for everyone to just obey the guideline. I think basically what we're trying to do is to see as best as we can to encourage persons to stay home. If you don't have to be on the street, if you're not authorized to be on the street, just stay home and allow us to effectively do what we can do within the circumstances.
Norman Walker, president of Sunshine City Chamber of Commerce. I know you've been critical of some of what has transpired so far, and we know here that the order is to be published tonight. But can you understand that things move so fast in this time that a hiccup like this is perhaps understandable, Mr. Walker?
Yes, it is, but I expect that the Portmore community is one who I think is quite pretty disciplined. They understand what is required of them and they are to play by the rules. So the order, I would think, would be a formality. I mean, for my going around and checking, what I've seen is great compliance. And I must commend the Portmore community in that regard.
Right.
But I also, it would be remiss of me if I did not share with you a very important observation. We had 2 days coming this week, Wednesday and Saturday. What consideration is given for the 7-day Adventists who worship on a Saturday? If they don't catch the Wednesday window, what happens thereafter? This is something that has brought to my attention, and I figure that I should really raise it with you.
Wow. I don't know.
Emily.
I don't know
Emily.
who can answer that.
Emily.
Who is this coming in?
Mayor Thomas.
Yes, Mayor.
That is the reason why I was asking for the additional day. Because when you take in consideration that the Adventists after 6 o'clock when the sun goes down on a Friday, they normally stay in and they don't come out back either until Sunday morning or late Saturday evening. And if the supermarket is going to stay open until 8 o'clock, then the Adventist personnel will be making a rush into the supermarket. And that's why we want to have the additional day to accommodate the Adventists, the senior citizens, the frontline workers. If we have the additional day, we will be better off. I can tell you, today, there was no pharmacy in Portmore that is open, and the doctors who operate from, say, 9 to 5 in Portmore was having a serious concern because the people could not get their medication. That need to also address.
Like how then? You want a variation of the order?
Yes, to accommodate the pharmacists to operate. The pharmacists, if you have a lot of people on medication with different ailments and they cannot get their prescription to fill, it's only on a Wednesday and a Saturday the pharmacies are opening. I don't know if they are exempt, that they can come out to open the pharmacy. I don't know.
Right.
Because I don't hear any announcement about those personnel.
Right.
I know the health center was open in Portmore today,
Right.
but the pharmacy was closed.
Right. And we don't have the order yet to know exactly the broad parameters of it. But Mayor Thomas, I can't emphasize enough just how difficult the time is that the entire world has found itself in at the moment. Where is the spirit of community? Where is the spirit of involvement of everybody to rally around to see if we can get prescriptions that people have, find a way to get them into a pharmacy on the days that are open, or to get the prescriptions filled out of Kingston and to get it to the people that is needed? Why are we finding problems to every solution that is created?
I can tell you, Emily, that I have gone on Bergman show, and there was one old lady who up to call Delia and was complaining about certain things. And I gave out my number, and I also want to use this medium to give out the municipal council number, so that if anyone that is at home and need their prescription to be taken care of, they can get in contact with us. I know that the presidents of the various citizen association, also in the communities, are also open to help. Mm-hmm. It is not that they don't willing to help. The thing is that the pharmacies is closed, so we cannot get to purchase these drugs.
Right. Your line is breaking up. Your line is breaking up. My apologies to those watching. We're connecting with our guests on Zoom for this virtual town hall. I'm getting a note here from the press secretary, Naomi Francis. If a senior citizen or pregnant or disabled person needs assistance or medication, they can call the Ministry of Health and Wellness and also the Parish Council. Local representatives should be contacted. Medical emergencies are given passage. In the lockdown, there's no problem. She also says that Ministry of Health has a mobile unit that can be deployed and has been done in Bull Bay and Clarendon, so no one should be in distress. But I think when we do get the order, then the issue as to whether pharmacies are open and the ramifications of that would better guide all of us. But you hear that comment. Dennis Robotham, does that ease any of the concerns when we are told that senior citizens, the pregnant and disabled, can contact the Ministry of Health and Wellness if there are issues concerning medication and seek assistance?
Well, I suppose it has never been tested, so I suppose it can be tried. I don't see any reason why it's not able to be successful at that aspect of it. But I just want to bring a point regarding the supermarkets for the elderly and the pregnant women, that restocking, because when the senior citizen goes in at 8 o'clock, the night before, everything is a run on everything the night before. Restocking should be given priority to the supermarkets, that they can be restocked the day before or whatever time before, that by the time 8 o'clock comes the following day, there is enough produce or whatever goods that there is. It's properly restocked, because I think that is also a problem.
But what the Prime Minister said, Mr. Robotham, in Parliament was that the supermarkets are allowed to open from, I believe, 7 for restocking, and they can close about 9, so that all of the work that has to be done can be done for the hour or so at the close at 8 p.m. Do you think that's enough time, or more time is going to be needed?
But you want to remember, Emily, that produce and stock have to come from Kingston. The bakery, the different entities, we have to get those stocks in before.
Yes.
If you come in at 7 when the supermarkets are open, by the time it is packed out and put on the shelf, people are in the supermarket already, and the time factor is between 8 and 10.
Let me go to a break. Thank you so much, Dennis Robotham. When we come back from this break, more virtual town hall, the lockdown of St. Catherine. This is RJRGleaner Communications Group Virtual Town Hall.
lockdown. The entire parish of St. Catherine on lockdown.
Just by virtue of the existence of the call center in Portmore.
What does this mean?
A lockdown starting 5 a.m. tomorrow for the next 7 days, ending 5 a.m. on the 22nd of April.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by washing your hands after coughing or sneezing, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare food, before eating, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, and after handling animals or animal waste.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The RJRGleaner Group will have a virtual town hall this Thursday, April 16 at 8:30 p.m.
Thank you so much for rejoining us as we continue the virtual town hall on the lockdown in St. Catherine. Welcome back to my guests online. We've been focusing a lot on what has been happening in Portmore, perhaps because it is the largest dormitory community in the English-speaking Caribbean, having a population of over 200,000 people. But St. Catherine is, of course, much broader than that. Can I just ask Norman Walker whether you have had any concerns similar to those expressed by those in Portmore from rural St. Catherine? How are they managing?
Yes, the St. Catherine phenomenon is one that we can't exempt one another, because St. Catherine has continued to experience the same experience that we are having in Portmore. Mm-hmm. But you know, I want to be philosophical in my thoughts. I really think the time has come in Jamaica that we have to show a little more compassion.
Yes.
When we speak about disabled and the elderly and so on, I want to hope that this occasion is a wake-up call for us to understand that we must be our brother's keeper. And this is ever before that. Now we need all hands on deck. We must support each other. The conditions requires it, and I'm hoping that a new day is dawning, because we are all experiencing the same challenge.
Right, and perhaps also, Norman Walker, today for me, tomorrow for you. And I keep saying that a lockdown of other parts of the island may be imminent because of the movement of this virus across borders, across boundaries, across all different strata in life. So I think people need to start getting ready for lockdown to be announced in whichever other parish, depending on the clusters that the health ministry would find in those areas. Let me come to Dennis Robotham, though. Have you had any view from people in Yorton, in Loidersville, in Bogwalk, in Old Harbour, in Linstead, in some of those other parts of St. Catherine?
Well, most of the business people are on the same page where the pandemic is concerned. I mean, it is something that has discombobulated the entire lives of everybody, from the top to the bottom. But the business people in particular are concerned, and we look at all aspects of it because they have had to close. Cash flow situation is down to zero in some instances. We look at the taxi operators who have loans on their cars, those in the tourist industry, the same thing. Those with bank loans, the businesses are now at a point where it looks impossible. We are looking now to the banks and the financial institutions as to what are their stimulus package like. Are they going to rewrite the loans, give moratoriums? We're not hearing that depth from the financial institutions, and this is some cause for concern. That is definitely something that we need to look at. Yeah, with small businesses that operate from a day-to-day basis, and the fact is they don't have the reserves to call upon. It is based on cash flow that they got the loans, and when there's no cash flow to pay the loan, then they are in a serious strait.
Difficult times. Difficult times. There was a point raised during the break, which we will have to see clarification on in relation to the Seventh-day Adventists. I think that's a real issue. But Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay, have you had any reports at all as to whether pharmacies in Portmore, or any of them, opened outside of the Wednesday and Saturday from the JCF? Any reports of those?
I think we got a report that one pharmacy in Portmore, I think JRGserve in Nagahead, that they were open today and they said they'll be open tomorrow. So I got that information. And just one pharmacy I said we got information was open today. Not sure of the others.
And that information, would that be in breach of the order, which we don't yet have in hand, but as you understand it to be?
As I said, we don't have the order yet, so that's we're not going to be able to answer. But I got information that that pharmacy was open today. I think they said they serve about 120 persons.
Right, but from the communication about what is to be the manner in which you operate, did you understand before that pharmacies could be opened outside of Wednesday and Saturday in St. Catherine?
Not so sure about pharmacies. I know that there were some specific days, Saturday and Wednesday.
Yes.
So I need to double check that. I'm not sure. I need to double check.
Right. Let me just take some of the comments coming in on 876-382-0072, and a question this is DAP Dex for the thousands of persons being placed on mandatory leave without pay due to shutdown. How will their expenses be paid or facilitated? Dennis Robotham, this is part of what you were tapping into a moment ago. I don't suppose you can answer the question really, but have you got a view? Is there a comfort that can be given to somebody who's asking, what about their expenses? How are they going to be paid or facilitated?
Well, this is the point that I was trying to make, is that there is a lot of dislocation in all strata of the society. You have the domestic helpers. Everybody is going to be wondering how to pay the bills. The light bill, the JPS bills need to be paid, the National Water Commission, etc., etc. Now, how is that going to work when the businesses are closed? The incomes have ceased, basically, and there's no way to get that done. I know the government has put some stimulus package in place, and I think that you possibly need to go online and see what avenues there are that will facilitate your particular need, because I think the government has some facility in place. As to exactly how and when is something that they have to go online and check with your local, possibly the parish council and other entities that would possibly guide them where to go for some assistance where that is concerned.
Mr. Walker, isn't this part of the big problem, trying to achieve the balance of not shutting down the economy completely, but also trying to keep people safe? Some countries have what is kind of a halfway house. Some countries have gone the full lockdown, being of the view that the economy can recover, but you really can't bring back somebody who is dead. How is the balance to be achieved with so much unknown about this virus, Norman Walker?
You spoke about the concerned employee. And, you know, it is one of great concern because as an employer of labor, it is my deep concern what is going to take place for these people who hasn't got the economic wherewithal to survive this period. How are they going to, those who have families, children to go to school, etc., or their expenses? And I know for a fact that quite a few of these people will be left out of the net. They'll be exposed. There won't be any coverage for them. And I'm saying that those of us who are employer of labor, I would like to see that some sort of stimulus is provided, maybe by the financial institutions that we are connected to see how best they can really support us through these turbulent times, so that we can keep some of the people that we're employed, and to see how best we can compensate them to survive. Because this is what we are facing now. We are all in this thing together. And, you know, I would never like to see any employee left behind because it is something that they are not responsible for.
Yes, but Mayor Leon Thomas, isn't part of what we are facing here is that some of the cracks, some of the craters in systems all across the world are now being completely exposed by the coronavirus. We see the haves and the haves not. We see those who live hand to mouth and therefore can't afford and who suffer greatest from lockdown, not being able to observe the social distancing rule because they need to go on the road. How do we really internalize? How do we contemplate a fix through the process of this coronavirus crisis and when it is all over, Mayor Thomas?
Emily, I just want to also put in the mix that our pensioners, I am very much concerned about our pensioners, because when you look at the number of personnel that normally convert on the post offices in Portmore, and also outside of Portmore, and these are our senior citizens that we need to protect. And with this lockdown that we are now experiencing, it exposed the pensioners and also exposed the people who work days work. That is something that I am very much concerned about, because the stimulus package that the government announced is going to leave out a lot of people who was employed, and now the closing down of these businesses is going to create a more order thing for them. So we need now to maybe look how, and I think it's Mr. Robertham have mentioned about the stimulus package and how we can also assist.
Right.
And before that, Mr. Robertham have mentioned about the restocks of supermarkets.
Can we come to that after the break, please? Let's go to break. Leon Thomas. This is virtual town hall lockdown of St. Catherine final segment when we come back.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
TVJ, JNN, OneSpotMedia.com, The Gleaner Online, Radio Jamaica, Power 106 FM, and TVJ's YouTube channel. St. Catherine on lockdown. Lockdown. The entire parish of St. Catherine on lockdown.
Just by virtue of the existence of the call center in Portmore.
What does this mean?
A lockdown starting 5 a.m. tomorrow for the next 7 days, ending 5 a.m. on the 22nd of April 2020.
The RJRGleaner group will have...
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by washing your hands after coughing or sneezing, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare food, before eating, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, and after handling animals or animal waste.
Reduce your risk
Welcome
of viral
back to the
illnesses
final
like the flu
segment
and
of the virtual town hall for the RJRGleaner Communications Group. We're looking at the lockdown of St. Catherine. Bear in mind that this may happen in other parishes, so whatever we say here may have some applicability to the lockdown in those other areas when they come. I'm rejoining Leon Thomas, Mayor of Portmore, Dennis Robotham from St. Catherine Chamber of Commerce, Norman Walker from the Sunshine City Chamber of Commerce, and SSP Stephanie Lindsay. Before the break, Leon Thomas, you were talking about the restocking of the supermarkets.
What I was saying, Emily, that the restocking of the supermarkets must have one day to do the restocking, because it cannot be 2 hours before it opens. It's going to cause a chaos. So I think that they should declare a day for restocking. If they are going to continue to have the Wednesdays and Saturdays, they must declare Tuesdays for stocking and for Saturday, either the Friday or the Thursday.
Yes, okay, got you on that. Fair point. SSP Lindsay, I'm being asked by John, what can be done to speed up the credential checks at checkpoints?
Well, of course, one of the things that could make it a little speedier if persons who are not supposed to be on the road stay home. So that's one of the things, because we have to be doing so many checks. And of course, in addition to that, we are also working out with our medical services branch, and we're also doing the temperature checks as well. So it takes time. So we know that some persons are waiting a little longer, but it's very important that we do it. But if less persons who are not to be on the road will stay home, that will allow us to put through the essential service workers as well as those persons who are exempted and authorized to be out. So we're doing the best we can to ensure that we speed the process up, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we are doing the checks that are so necessary for the purpose it was intended for.
Is there a difference between essential workers and exempt workers?
Yes, there's a difference. So essential workers are like our nurses, our doctors, police officers. You'll find that the exempted persons are some category of employees that are based on what they do. They provide critical service that supports the essential services. So they are given exemptions. So people in our telecommunication department, there are other persons who are food providers and other service providers. They are exempted and are allowed to be out providing that particular service during the lockdown. So there's a difference between those persons.
But you see, I always thought from what the Prime Minister said that a worker is essential if the work that the worker does cannot be performed from anywhere except in the physical workspace. So you may not be a nurse or a doctor, but if the job that you do, you have to go to an office to do it, then you're providing an essential service and you're an essential worker. But that seems to be different from how you understand essential worker, SSP Lindsay.
I think it's probably along the same line, but in making the distinction, so there are persons who are always considered to be essential workers based on what you do and the service that you provide. So in COVID now, we are seeing where under normal circumstances, there are persons now that are on the list of persons who are exempted that we would not normally see in normal times.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the assessment is made, and who gets exemption is based on the service they provide and how important and critical it is to treat with. What we are guided by is that when we get the order, we have a list of companies and entities and individuals, different organizations. So that pretty much outline what is it that we look for and who are the persons who are exempted and those who form part of the essential services.
I have a question for you as well, SSP Lindsay from Tested and Proven. Why are the police still harassing taxi operators who are out in Spanish Town carrying essential workers? If taxi operators are not supposed to be out, why not use a couple JUTC buses on every route?
Well, I don't know about the harassing. Part of it is that we have a law to enforce, and if it is a situation where it is announced that they are not to be on the street, then for one, we don't expect persons to be taking them. But if they are in breach, then the police, we are going to take the appropriate action. Also, we still maintain the other laws of the country as we support the fight against COVID. So there's a clear distinction of who needs to be out there and if it's otherwise. So they're just out there doing their job. It's not necessarily harassment, but we have to do what we are called upon to do.
Norman Walker, in relation to JUTC, I've wondered whether there has been an increase in the number of buses in St. Catherine, especially because of the Wednesday and the Saturday for the shopping days. Have you had an increased number of JUTC buses plying routes in St. Catherine?
From my understanding, no. I think that there has been some reduced inactivity as far as the JUTC is concerned. Don't ask me why. Well, I take it that the commuters has gone down to virtually limited amount of people to traverse the roadways. So there has been reduced activity as far as the JUTC is concerned.
But are you going to make a call for Wednesdays and Saturdays for more buses, particularly in St. Catherine, to get people around, especially because they're now being ordered according to surname and to over 65 and disability and so forth?
Well, I'm hoping that we would have learned from this Wednesday, and going forward, we would have picked up what needed to be done. I think Wednesday is an excellent experience for us to correct our challenges. And this is one area that I hope that the people responsible in that area will look at and to ensure that they sort that out and to move the people on a timely basis.
Well, one of the operators of supermarket in parts of St. Catherine did speak with our news center. I think it may have been yesterday, and this is the plan for the next open day on Saturday, where barriers are going to be erected. Let's see if we can go to that excerpt at the moment.
It's very hard to deal with the customers outside to practice the social distancing. No matter what we do, it's hard to get them to deal with it, but we are working on it. Seeing as we can, I'm trying to get some things to space them out some more.
Yeah. Space them out some more. Leon Thomas, as we come to the end of the program, this time is calling out for extraordinary leadership. What more can you as mayor of Portmore provide to the people at the moment who are in some amount of fear, trepidation, feelings of uncertainty about what is going on? What more can you do?
Well, Emily, with the publication that is pending and hoping that we get it tomorrow, we'll be having our town criers out to advise our citizens about the different aspects of the publication and what is required of them. We are also going to put in place the necessary announcements across the municipality to remind our citizens about maintaining the social distance. And when they are coming out, they must either wear a mask or even their handkerchief should tie around their nose and nostril. Also, Emily, we are hoping and waiting for the government to have some form of discussion with us in the municipality, and so that all of us can sit together and come up with some serious plan of action going forward. But Emily, one of the things that I am looking at, yes, the close down is here. You close down the parish, but where are the testing that is being done within the parish? We don't know how many persons have been tested in Portmore and how much are positive. We need to have that information because I cannot run a municipality without having the figures to really work with. We are also setting up a lot of 200-gallon tanks across the municipality for people to carry out hand washing. And we're also sanitizing various areas where we have large gathering within the municipality.
All right, have to leave it there. Leon Thomas, thank you so much. Dennis Robotham, 10 seconds to you. What do we do now? How do you provide greater leadership?
Well, I have to put in this part here. The restaurant owners are asking if it is possible for them to operate delivery service and create some employment for those like Domino Pizza, Pizza Hut, and the restaurants that have the capabilities and the capacity to do delivery. That, you know, they should look at this aspect so that it can, you know, create some employment and keep momentum going where the economy is concerned.
Or we can try cooking at home, which is quite good.
Well, that is aspect too, but, you know, there's also those that, you know, want takeout service and that sort of thing. So
yes. Got you. Norman Walker, how do we do differently?
I want to say to the operators who are down now, who's on the edge, who have closed and so on, to hold faith, hang in there, keep heart, don't give up, and let's look for a brighter day tomorrow.
All right, have to leave it there. SSP Lindsay, quickly, how are your members managing? You're on SOE, you're on Zozo, and now you're on policing lockdown. How are you managing?
We are managing the Jamaica Constabulary Force. We are very resilient because we understand our role, that we have to be a part of this. So we just want to work with the citizens as a force for good to keep them safe.
All the best. That's our program for tonight, the virtual town hall lockdown of St. Catherine. Look forward to having your company another time, whenever that is. Please take good care. Thank you to my production team. I'm Emily Shields. Good evening.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and corona.